Hey everybody, welcome to Do You Believe on Paranormal Zone TV. Thanks so much everyone for joining me tonight. Please, if you're watching for the first time, if you would please subscribe to my channel, I'd appreciate it. And also, if you would please give my show a like, I'd appreciate that too. And I'm really excited about tonight's show. My guest is Dr. R.C. Craig Hogan. He is involved in the Afterlife Research and Education Institute. Dr. Hogan is president of the Afterlife Research and Education Institute and of the Center of Spiritual Understanding. He's devoted to helping people develop their spiritual understanding through afterlife connections. He is the author of Your Eternal Self, presenting the scientific evidence that the mind is not confined to the brain, and I'm going to ask him about that tonight. The afterlife is a reality. People's minds are linked, and the mind affects the physical world. The book has been called an eye-opening look at the pseudo, natural, and everything related to the human mind. So, with that, let's welcome Dr. Hogan. Dr. Hogan, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Noreen, I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, now, would you please tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, please, before we start the show?
Sure. I've been developing afterlife communication devices and methods for about 15 years. We now are very successful in developing afterlife communication. We can do it with 98% success. And so I've been devoting all of my time to finding new ways of developing afterlife communications and then getting them out to the public, just helping other people to learn how to do it. So we're teaching people right now how to have their own afterlife communications, and we're also getting them in touch with people who can do it with them. So that's what I've devoted the last 15 years of my life to.
All right. Now, we talked a couple of days ago, and it's mind-boggling for me. Now, first of all, what is the Afterlife Research and Education Institute?
We formed the Institute, the five of us. Actually, it was Victor and Wendy Zametz, who are the authors of the Zametz newsletter every week. Suzanne Wilson, a very talented medium from Phoenix. And Roberta Grimes, who's the author of The Fun of Dying, The Fun of Staying in Touch, and The Fun of Growing Forever. And we formed it because we want to help people to learn how to communicate with their loved ones on the other side. We know we can do it. Anybody can do it now. And the word hasn't gotten out yet. And so we're trying to help the researchers who are developing new methods, the people who are disseminating those methods, and then we're ourselves trying to help people to get into the state of mind. It's just a state of mind in which they can communicate with their loved ones, and their loved ones are waiting to communicate with them. They want to communicate badly with them. And so it's just a matter of making the connection.
How do you do this?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do this? Tell the viewers how you do this.
Sure. There are a variety of ways of doing it. What you have to understand is that the people who are in this other realm, which is just another vibration, are able to communicate, but they have to communicate mind to mind because they're not using an earthly body anymore. But they can communicate mind to mind if we can open our minds to it. So in other words, they're always attempting to communicate. There's no doubt about the fact that they want to communicate. And the only obstacle to that is us opening up our minds. So what we have to do is we have to find ways of opening our minds. And that's where the work comes in. There are a variety of ways of doing it. One of the ways of doing it is through self-hypnosis. And I actually have an online program that teaches people how to self-hypnotize, and they can then have online connections with their loved ones. 86% of the people have connections just by going through this training program. There's one that's done by a psychotherapist, and what she does is she uses a method called EMDR, or bilateral stimulation, and she has the clients who are sitting in her office have afterlife communication. She's trained over 100 psychotherapists to do this method now. And all it takes then is to open up the mind, just to be receptive, to understand and accept those subtle messages that people get. And you have to get used to mind-to-mind communication. That's very different from communicating in words the way that we do on the earth plane. Mind-to-mind communication, you get things like whole messages. The entire message will come to you at once. There may not be words involved with it, or it might be an image, or it might be a song that you get. People are getting these every day, all day, and during their lives, and they don't realize it. And so when suddenly a memory pops in their mind, or a song comes to them, or they're feeling like they're getting a message from somebody on the other side, they usually ignore it. And instead of ignoring it, what they should do is just close their eyes, relax, and start a dialogue. And one of the activities is that we just have somebody sit down and start to daydream, just like you were having a conversation. And what you'll find is when you start to do that and have a conversation with them, that merges into an afterlife connection. It just takes doing it and being open to it.
You know, I know you're familiar with the paranormal field, and there are paranormal investigators out there, and they use ghost boxes, they use digital voice recorders, and they'll use ghost apps of some kind. Now, is that the same type of communication?
That's a different kind of communication. It's an instrumental transcommunication. It's called ITC. And most of the people who walk into a haunted house with a ghost box or with a recorder will get voices that are lower level entities. Not always. Sometimes they can communicate with their loved ones, but usually they're lower level entities. They're people who are on the earth plane. They're walking around the earth plane, doing things on the earth plane, but they're not using bodies. And so they can communicate through something like a recorder, a digital recorder. But those are lower level spirits usually. They're just the people who are continuing to live in the house without the body. And what we're doing is something very different. We're connecting with what they call on the other side stations. So there's stations that are in another realm, and the stations then bring our loved ones to the station, and our loved ones then can communicate with us through that station. That's what we're teaching people to do now. We actually have a free training program that's online teaching people how to use instrumental transcommunication to record these voices. And it isn't that somebody has to stand there with a digital recorder for hours to get a voice. You ask a question and then you get a response. So we're refining that, and we're helping people to learn how to do it because we want people to be able to communicate using instrumental transcommunication. So that's a method the people on the other side are very involved in developing. They're developing the station so that we can communicate. All we have to do is use some free equipment that we have already in our house, and just learn how to do it.
Well, the thing is, Dr. Hogan, when they do use these ghost boxes, and it's scanning, it's scanning, and words will pop up. Now, I have to admit that some of the responses that they do get off of these ghost boxes are highly intelligent. I mean, how can scanning come up with your name? How can scanning come up with an object that you're holding up in your hand, which I find is really bizarre, off of a transistor radio that's been hacked?
Mm-hmm. Sure. And what they're using a device called a Frank's box. And the Frank's box then scans very quickly across channels, picks up a bit of a voice here and a bit of a voice there, and a little song there and here and a little song there. And what it does is use that as a background. So they, on the other side, then are able to convert that basic sound into the voice. And what they do is they use that as rather like the raw materials, something to build from. And in order to do that, then they have to change it electronically. So they use electromagnetism and change it. But some people can use the scanner, the Frank's box, and they can come up with voices from people on the other side. Sometimes they're loved ones. It is possible to have someone we know there. Most often it's going to be someone who is a lower level entity on this side. But the Frank's box occasionally does get these voices. What we're doing when we work with the station, though, is we're actually able to get a whole dialogue. So in other words, Sonia Raldi, who's a researcher in Brazil and has been doing this since 2001, is very successful with it. She's done as many as 163 readings for parents communicating with their children on the other side. Each one of the readings has as many as 200 answers to questions, so that a parent will ask a question and the child on the other side will answer. Parent asks a question, the child answers. So that's the kind of dialogue that we want to get, and that's what we get. So we don't have to wait for something to, a word or two to come off on the scanner. This is what the station is developed to do on the other side.
Now, also in the paranormal field, when they are trying to get responses off of these applications, off of these hacked transistors, besides the Frank's box, there also people are saying that, how do we know it's really them? And another thing is, how do we know it's not a demonic entity that is responding?
Sure, we know it's them because of the fact that the parents are the ones who are having the dialogue with the children. So we know that the parents would know what their child was saying, they know who their child is, they know what they would expect. The children are saying things about recent things that have happened in their lives. So it could be something that happened just a few hours ago or a few days ago. So they are saying things about their lives that only the child would know on the other side. As far as whether they're demons or not, there is nothing in the New Testament or the Old Testament that suggests that demons respond instead of the people whom we know are on the other side. So there is no evidence of that anywhere. That's completely folklore. It's a superstition.
So you don't believe that there are negative entities that are responding?
There are negative entities on the other side. But when you're having a dialogue with a loved one on the other side, only the loved one will come through. That's one of the spiritual rules of the universe. So that if we are at a higher spiritual level, which means that we are trying to communicate with a loved one on the other side, then we will only communicate with that loved one. We won't communicate with anybody else. So nobody else has been able to break through. That's why when you go to a medium, you see mediums like Teresa Caputo, or John Edwards, and you see them give readings. You never hear of them having a reading in which somebody else comes through, someone who is not a loved one. And the reason for that is that if you're on a higher spiritual level, meaning that you're really trying to communicate with a loved one, then they're the ones who are going to come through. Only they will come through. Now, people who fool around with the Ouija board and are just having fun at a cocktail party, they're inviting in these lower level entities and evil entities that do exist without being on a higher spiritual level. And when you do that, then it is possible that somebody can come in and they can get a real kick out of being there. They're doing the things they want to do, which are mischievous, and they want to stick around because they're having fun. And so they will stick around with the people who are using the Ouija board because they're going to get a kick out of it, aggravating them. So we don't want to use anything, a device like that, on a lower spiritual level, meaning that we really don't have a spiritual intent, or we're not trying to communicate with a loved one. We have to be on a higher spiritual level. When we're doing this, there are no demons involved.
I've also read on your site that you say that we've learned that scientists in other realms, the afterlife, other dimensions, other planes, are assembling these stations. So you're working with those on the other side to assemble these stations in order for communication?
Yes.
How can that be? How can that
be? Right, there are teams on the other side. That includes scientists, electronic engineers, chemists, and they're the same people who, when they pass out of the Earth plane, when they go to the other side, they are the specialists, they're the professionals, and they want to continue the work on the other side. So that we know that on the team on the other side, for instance, is Nikola Tesla. We know that Edison is with us on the other side.
But wait a minute.
Einstein
How do you? Well. How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because they communicate that to us. They communicate to us and let us know that that's true.
Now,
so we know that they're there.
Okay, so the thing is, you stated that these communications are to connect with your loved ones, but yes, you are also connecting with scientists and other afterlife from other dimensions as well.
Yes.
But why are they communicating with you?
And it's, as you say, it's not only other dimensions, it is what we would call aliens. They're not the aliens, they're just people who live on different planes of life, but we would call them aliens, and they might come through to us as seeming like aliens, but they are involved in the stations as well. And the reason they're doing this is because they are spiritual. They are concerned about humankind. They want people to be able to communicate with our loved ones on the other side, and they want to help to heal humankind. And the way they're going to heal humankind is by dropping the veil between this life and their realms, and then they're going to give to us all of the peace, love, and joy that we can handle, because they're going to give us the secrets that we need to have in order to have this wonderful life on Earth that we should be having. We shouldn't be having all this turmoil, but they are very interested in it. They're dedicated to it, the same way that people are on this side, the same way that I am. They're dedicated to it, and so they're continuing the work on the other side.
Now, you're saying aliens. Are you now? From what I've done several shows on alien abductions, and they understand. I understand that there are many different races of an alien. What do you know? What level they are? I mean, there's Greys, there's Nordics, there's all kinds of. Which one do you think you're communicating with?
They tell us that on the other side there are millions of planes. It's not just that there are single races of people. There are millions of planes with people. Now a small number have made contact with us, and a small number are involved in working with us. They don't, when we work with the team, they won't identify themselves as aliens or as people that we would, with whatever name we've given to them. So they don't identify themselves in that way. So we can't really tell yet. I think we will be able to in the future as we communicate more. But as of yet, the only ones that will identify themselves are the people whom we know from the Earth plane. So I really can't say anything about the people whom we call the Greys or the Nordics or any of the other types that we are calling aliens. But these are really just individuals, spiritual individuals, conscious individuals living on different planes of life.
Are you in charge of one of these stations? There's 4 stations, right?
As far as we know right now, there are 4. There is a Brazilian station that speaks only Portuguese, because that's Brazilian language. There is a North American station, and that's the one that's the English station, and we are the ones who are helping to develop it. But we have a number of people working with us on this side. But we started developing the North American station with the people on the other side. Now, they decided. We couldn't have decided. They decided to develop the North American station because they wanted the station in English. We've got the Brazilian station that's in Portuguese. North American station is in English. There's a time stream station that's a European station. It's primarily European Portuguese, but it involves some other languages as well. And then we've had a researcher who works with AREI, with our institute, who is helping to develop the Beijing station, which is going to be in Mandarin Chinese. So those are the 4 that are developed right now. And we would imagine that there will be many more that will develop. There will be a French station, and there will be a Spanish station. All of these stations will develop as those on the other side see that there are people who would engage in doing it on this side.
Now, you're calling a station. Now, does the station have equipment there? Mm-hmm. Is there like a studio and you have all this recording equipment?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
What they do is they actually refer to it. They refer to tables. And they say that there are many tables and that the tables have the sound equipment on them. They refer to what they speak through, what creates the voices, as a machine. So they refer to it as a machine. So they are using technology. The other planes, especially the plane that we go to from this plane, from the Earth plane, the other planes are just like this. When we say that things are solid, the things are solid there. They would look just like this. In fact, many people who cross over, when they first cross over, don't realize where they are. They think they're dreaming. They think that there is some reasonable explanation for it because everything is exactly the same as it is on the Earth plane. So the stations do have equipment. There are buildings. There are people who go to the stations, who commute to the stations, or the loved ones can, from wherever they are, they can communicate through the station. But this is a physical place, physical on their realm. in just the same way that things are physical on our realm. And they do have sound tables, and they have equipment, and they have a machine, and all of these things that they've developed, they've invented, they've put them together, and now they're using them successfully.
How, at these different stations, how many at each station are they communicating with on the other side?
We don't know how many, but we have been told in other circumstances in working with the other side that the teams that are working there are in the thousands. So that there's a large number of people who are working on it. They're dedicated to this work, and they're spending their time on the other side working with trying to communicate with us. So we know that there are many, many people involved in the process.
At these stations, is there one person communicating on the other side, with the other side, or are there many people working at the same time communicating with, and each one has a different group?
Yes, there are many people there who communicate. We don't know which one is speaking at any given time.
Oh, you
If
don't?
a loved one comes through, then we know it's the loved one because of the fact that they address their parents or they address their husband or wife, and they have a dialogue with them. So we know that it's them. But otherwise, then, when somebody comes through, unless we ask directly and say, is Nikolai Tesla at the station, then we will get that, or we will say, if Nikolai Tesla is at the station, please say Tesla. And then we will hear the name Tesla. So we can get them to respond if we know the names. Otherwise, we're not sure who is speaking. We very often will get a voice saying something about the station or from the station. We don't know who it is that's saying it. They don't identify themselves. They're really not concerned with names. They're really not concerned with identities. And so they don't make a point of saying, hey, this is Nikolai, and I've got a message for you. Will you please listen?
All right. So now, are you involved in the North American station?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually started. We came from a symposium, a conference that we had where we had Sonia Raldi, the Brazilian researcher, come up here. We flew her up, and she spoke, and she showed us what she was doing in Portuguese. And so we decided we would start to do it in English. And when we started to do it in English, we learned from the other side that they were so enthusiastic about us attempting to do it in English that they were going to establish the North American station. And so we're cooperating with them now. It's a big team. We're members of the team. They on the other side are members of the team. And we're all working together to develop the station. And we can have any researchers, anybody can become part of this team because it's very easy to learn. You only need a laptop and a microphone, speakers, and a free program that you can get online called Audacity, which is a free software program. And then once you have all those things, then you can start to communicate with the other side.
Now, again, I want to ask you about those in the paranormal field who use their voice recorders and blah, blah, blah. Now, a lot of times they'll try and communicate with the other side and there's no response whatsoever. Why does that happen when they're out there?
It's because of the fact that what they're trying to do is to communicate with lower level entities, usually. But the other reason for it is the reason that they can't, for instance, just communicate with a loved one. Like you take a voice recorder and you would say, I really would like to talk to Mom. Mom, if you can, come through and put something on my voice recorder. And the reason they can't do that is because Mom can't do that. People on the other side are really trying desperately to communicate with us, but they have the same difficulties that we have. They have to go to a medium. So they go to a medium in order to communicate with us on this side. But Mom can't change the electromagnetism on that voice recorder. She's not capable. The technicians who are working at the station can do it, but she can't do it. So you can't just go out and expect that anybody you would like to communicate with is going to be able to change the electromagnetism. They don't become all-powerful when they go to the other side. They are still the same person they were on this side. And unless they're an electronics engineer who can develop a device on the other side, they're not going to be able to do that. The people who are able to do it are, at times, because of the power that they have, the energy that they have, are able to put some words on a voice recorder. But it's at random, and it's no telling who you're going to come up with, and it's very difficult for them to do. So Mom or our child or whoever's on the other side is not going to be able to do it.
Now, I read also that you said electromagnetism is involved, and the signals
Yes.
come to us on the earth plane and imprinted on electronic devices such as a hard drive or a computer or speaker of a radio. And then and the patterns imprinted on the hard drive then play back the voices. So you don't hear it at the time you're talking, but when you play it back, the voices are there.
What happens is that we play the background noise, which sounds like voices. It's much the same as the Frank's box or something, but we have it chopped up in syllables, and we know there are no words in there. So we play the background voice, and then we record that with a microphone that simply goes into the PC or laptop. So we record that, and then while the recording is going on of that background noise, then we're asking questions. And so we ask a question like, are you available to communicate? Please say available. And then we don't hear anything. We wait 10 or 15 seconds because the recording is going on during that time. And then when we play back the recording, then we hear the background noise, and we hear our question, if you're available to communicate, please say available. And then is when we hear them say available. And so we have those recordings. We have many of those recordings now of people saying things to the other, from the other side to us. We have many children from the other side talking to their parents on this side. And we have their voices recorded. Sherry Pearl, who is one of the researchers working with us and is doing a marvelous job, is now using it to connect parents with their children on the other side.
And another thing I wanted to ask you, the ones on the other side, there have been, okay, let me go back. I've done EVP sessions quite often, and we'll be in contact with somebody off of our device, and then we'll ask them, can you see anybody else with you? Like if it was a child, well, can you see your mother or your father with you? And they'll say no. Then so why is that? Now, when you communicate with them, are they able to see their mother or their father?
The people on this side, or you mean the people at
the
the
one
station?
That you're on the other side.
At the station.
Yeah.
The people at the station, we don't know. We don't fully know how they're doing that. There are two ways that they could do it. We know that they have two opportunities. One of them is that the people can travel to the station. And when I say travel, on the other side, on the next planes of life, all a person has to do is intend to be someplace, and they're there. So that traveling is not difficult. It doesn't take, you don't have to get in a car and drive. The other way of doing it is because all of our minds are linked. All of our minds are one, including our minds and their minds on the other side. They're all one. They can then communicate with the station simply by focusing their thoughts on the station. And it goes into the machine, and then it comes to us through electromagnetic signals. And in fact, people are worried about communicating with their loved one on the other side, and they wonder whether the loved one is going to be available or is going to be able to hear them, and they always hear them. So they are always attuned to us. They're only a thought away. So they receive our thoughts and our feelings. They understand.
Can you explain to the viewers the death transition?
Mm-hmm. Sure. What happens is we are in Earth school right now. This is a spiritual plane. The Earth is a spiritual plane, just like the other spiritual planes. It's not like this is the life and there is an afterlife. It is all just life. There are millions of planes. So what happens is we incarnate, in other words, we come into the Earth plane, and our spirits are here, our minds are here, and our minds are doing things, and the mind is the important part. The mind lives forever. So the minds come into the earthly realm, and they use a body. And while they're here, they use the body, and the body has things happen to it, and for better or for worse. And at the end of it all, when they're done with Earth school and they're ready to graduate, they've got to graduate, and they graduate by dropping off the body. You just got to get rid of the body. And so they have to drop off the body in many different ways. And the body just has to stop functioning, and you can put it in the ground and forget about it, because it's like an old tattered, worn raincoat that you used to wear, and you don't have any use for it anymore, and you just throw it away. That's what the body is, and what happens in the transition, in the death transition, something has to stop the body. So that's what happens. But when the body's stopping, for instance, somebody's in an airplane crash, the person out of the distance, and they are on the next plane of life. They go into a status in their bodies where they're in their 20s or 30s, in their prime, and they were there with her, and she was just laying down, and she awoke, and they were there to greet her. And another one, the person transitioned, and she awoke, and she was in what seemed like a hospital bed, but it was a kind of a reception area, and there were other people who were there, and her sister came up to her, and it was really cute because she saw her sister coming from a distance, and she said, "That looks like Kate, but it can't be Kate. Kate's dead." And she describes what happens at the reunion, and then her sister took her downstairs, and she met her family there. The transition happens uniquely for everybody. So to say that one thing happens for every person is not like that. Whatever is best for us, whatever is good for us, that's what happens in the transition.
And they tell you all this in your communication. They talk in sentences, and you have actual conversations with them.
Now, these that I'm describing now primarily are coming from a direct voice medium named Leslie Flint, who lived in the 20th century. Direct voice means that Leslie Flint would sit in a room. It was a darkened room, and the voices would come out of a voice box that he had that was actually formed from part of his body that was on his shoulder. But the voice box would actually form into the formation that would make the voices. So it'd be the right formation of the larynx. It'd be thinner for a woman. It'd be thicker for a male. That's why you get the difference in the sound of the voice. The nasal cavities of the voice box would be different. But they would come out as being the voice of the person who was on the earth plane. And so then Leslie Flint would sit in the room, and people would tape record at the time, because they used tape recorders in the 20th century, and they would tape record these voices. So we have thousands now of full voices of people easily conversing just like we are now, and they would describe what it's like on the other side. And if anybody wants to listen to them, all they have to do is go to one of my websites, which is owned by the Afterlife Research and Education Institute. It's called adcguides.com, adcguides.com, and you can listen to the voices. So we have thousands of them now, and they're describing what it's like on the other side. And we also have other mediums, such as David Thompson, who is a medium from Australia. And we have recordings of his conversations in which people come through from the other side and they speak, and we've got them on tape, and it's just like hearing a half-hour lecture when they're on the other side speaking.
Can you tell the viewers what you told me, which I almost flipped out? Would you tell, in our conversation the other day, about the afterlife telling you there is an afterlife, which there's a lot of people that are afraid to die, and you could tell somebody all day long, yes, there is an afterlife, but it's really hard for people to grasp that, and they're still afraid to die. And so I want you to tell the viewers what you found out from talking with the afterlife.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's no doubt about the fact that there is an afterlife, that this is the Earth School, this is one spiritual plane, and we just then, once we've graduated from this one, then we go on to the next one. We have mediums who speak to people. We have psychotherapists, people who are practicing psychologists, who in their office have people communicating with their loved ones on the other side with 98% success. So we have no doubt about the fact that they are communicating with their loved ones on the other side. This self-hypnosis program that I have online, if anybody wants to know about it, they can go to the website at afterlifeinstitute.org, afterlifeinstitute.org, and it's all free. Everything that we do is free. But in this program that we have that teaches people how to communicate with people on the other side, they're 86% successful. So we know that people can communicate with the other side, that the other side is a reality. We hear this over and over again in a great variety of ways, and we've been hearing it now for probably about 200 years. And so the word is just getting out now, and we're helping people to communicate with their loved ones on the other side. We know there's an afterlife. We know that this is just temporary.
But I want you to also tell them what they're telling you, what it's like on the other side.
Mm-hmm. We know what it's like. The next plane of life that most people from the earth plane would go to is called Summerland by some. It's called level 3 by others. But there is a plane that we all will go to on the other side. And in this plane, it's just exactly like the earth plane, except it doesn't have any of the negatives, and it has many, many more things that are positive. For instance, it has streets, and has mountains, and has rivers, and the people there have houses that they live in, and they cultivate gardens, and they can have whatever it is that they want. So if somebody has always wanted to learn to play the piano, then they can have a piano in their house, and they can take lessons from people who teach them, and the people who teach them could be people who are famous pianists in this life, and they will work with them and help them, and they can do anything that they would like to do on the other side. But the other side is different in many ways. There are flowers. They're huge flowers, not just small flowers, huge flowers. And the flowers have odors that are just beautiful, but they also emit sounds, so they have music that comes from the flowers. There's an ambiance of music there that's available to people. You don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. You can just have it shut off in your mind. There are things that people go to, plays, they go to concerts. There are instruments that we don't even know about that are used on the other side. So all of these things that we love and that we enjoy on the earth plane are part of that plane, and that plane is actually one of the patterns for many of the things that we have on the earth plane now. So we know that it's a wonderful world, and it's much better than the superstitious heaven that has been described by religions for years. It's much better than that. It really is like the earth plane, only much better.
And I asked you, well, what if there was a movie star you wanted to talk to, like Elvis Presley or somebody, but what was your response to me?
Yes, you could talk to Elvis Presley. You can talk to anybody. You can talk to Shakespeare if you're into Shakespeare. You can talk to, if you wanted to talk to Julius Caesar, you can talk to Julius Caesar. But they're very busy people in the same way that we are busy people. They're not going to be able to see everybody. So they make their choices. We have free will choice on the other side, just like we do here. We can be with the people that we want to be with there, from our family, from anybody who we associated with on this line, on this plane of light. So we can either associate with them or not. That's a free will choice. So Elvis is going to be very busy. Michael Jackson is going to be very busy. They're going to have thousands and thousands of people who want to meet them. So they likely are going to have to pick and choose who they would see. But it is an opportunity, so that if you're a person who is a very devoted to an individual, if you were very devoted to Elvis on this sort of side of life, then Elvis would very possibly be able to talk to you, or Charles Dickens, or anybody else on the other side.
All right, 1 second. Everybody, Royce, would you start taking their questions, please? I know there's going to be a lot, so if you want to start typing in your questions and Royce can start gathering them, thank you. I also tell the viewers what you told me. I wanted to know about, do we still eat? Do we cook? Are we still with our family and our animals?
Mm-hmm. Sure. When people first cross, you are exactly the same person when you first crossed that you were 5 minutes before or an hour before. So in the days that follow when you first cross, you'll have all the same attitudes, the same feelings. You'll have some anger, some frustration, all these things don't go away. You are exactly the same person because you are the mind. You are the mind. The body is just an indicator of that you're around. It's just like a place marker. But you are the mind, not the body. So what happens is when you cross over to the next plane of life, the things that you most expect, the things that you most want are going to be there for you. Not because you create them with your mind and say, I'd like to have that, but just because you expect them or want them, then they'll be there for you. So people who really like to eat, who are gourmets. So they can go to the other side and they can eat as much as they want and as long as they want and for as many years as they want in Earth terms of years. And they can have anything they want. They can drink. We even have a story of a man who just loved a pipe, and he smokes a pipe on the other side. And the pipe is not harmful to his body. That's the distinction. There are no emissions, there are no carbon emissions on the other side. But if we want to smoke and drink, I even have a woman who told us from the other side that she still engages in sex, and that sex is an opportunity. If it's something that they really want to do on the other side, then that's something that will be available.
Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that you can still have sex on the other side?
Well, that's what she says. Yeah. And this is a report from a person who's living there now. She says, yes, I can. Well, the very interesting thing, there also is an opportunity. I've had at least one person that I can remember, maybe two, who is having the self-guided afterlife connections, where she goes into self-hypnosis that we're training people to do on this side. That she goes into self-hypnosis, and when she goes into self-hypnosis, there she meets with her lover, and this is all happening in the mind, because they're mind-to-mind communication. But there, then she becomes aroused, and that they do have an activity. But I'm not sure that it's the activities we would think of, but it is a very sensual activity with her loved one who is now on the other side.
Oh my God! Now, what about men and women who have been married multiple times, mm-hmm. And suppose one of the man or the woman was still in love with maybe one of their exes, would they be able to get together without having the one that they were married to? This is complicated. The one that they were married to when they died?
Sure, it's a free will choice. So what happens is that you can choose who you want to be with, and the person may choose somebody, and another person would really like to have been with them and maybe very disappointed by it, but that's part of life, and so then they will have to get over that. That gradually goes away. So that feeling of possessiveness mm-hmm. that we have on the earth plane, like this is my wife, and this is my husband, that feeling of possessiveness gradually goes away. Some people then can be having loving relationships that they feel very good about the other person, and it can be very many different people over a period of, on our side we would say earth years, but that goes away after a while. But at first, you have free will. You can be with whoever you want to be with, and that means somebody's going to be disappointed in there, and that just happens.
In paranormal investigating, they'll have on their video recorder, or their video camera, or their camera as well, balls of light. Now, do you know what those, they call them energy lights?
Mm-hmm.
Is that someone that had passed on?
Mm-hmm. They're orbs, and the orbs are, in fact, the way they describe it is that they are the person, they are the spirit, the individual who has come down to the earth plane. It's a different vibration. So when they come down to the earth plane, or when they are entering a different realm, a different vibration, the only reason that we can't see their vibration where they're living is because we're focused on the earth realm. That means we can touch things here, we can see things here, we can smell things here, but we can't smell and touch and see things that are in their realm in a different vibration. So when they come down from their vibration into our vibration, and it's possible for them to do that, we can't go from here to theirs. That's just part of one of the rules of nature. But when they come down to our vibration, then they're entering a new vibration with just the mind, and they can come down with their astral body. So they can come down, and some people will see them. We'll actually see the body here, we'll see the person. So they can come down in that way, or they can come down as a smaller version, which is like a smaller package of their spirit, and that smaller package is an orb. Mm-hmm. So they do come down. It is the person, it is the individual showing up in this vibration, in that very small packaged it's much easier for them to come through like that. Very difficult for them to come through as a full body, but it's possible for them to come through as an orb. So then we do have loved ones who come through. So you will see the orb that's over the child, and you can realize that that's Grandpa. And that a medium can tell you, yes, that's Grandpa who is staying around your child. So the orbs are people from the other side. They are loving people. They are not demons or evil people or any of the negatives. They are loving people, and they usually are people who are family members who are coming and they're staying around, and you will see them during particularly spiritual times and times of celebration.
Mm. Oh, when at these stations, and it's on a daily basis. Somebody's always trying to communicate with the afterlife on a daily basis. Anytime. Okay. And do you continue to try and get information from the other side? Like, do they know what's going to happen to our Earth? Do they know what's going to happen to mankind? Are we in for the Earth being destroyed, like they say it's going to happen? What about all the hatred that's going on in our world? Do you ever talk to them about that?
So that's all a big order. There's a lot in there because that is in fact very prominent in our communication. Now, this is communication that's gone over the past 200 years that's taken place. They, on the other side, are very concerned about the Earth plane because we do have free will and we can blow this thing up if we want to. But you understand that if something happened to the Earth plane, there just wouldn't be any individuals here. You cannot harm the spirits. So in other words, our spirits can't be harmed. If something happened to the Earth plane, then people would not be able to come to the Earth plane. It would just go away. But they are concerned about the fact that there is so much anger and so much animosity and so much cruelty and violence in the Earth right now. And their primary concern is because of the fact that then creates the kind of an atmosphere that results in more cruelty and more violence. It also creates the negative entities, because the negative entities are only thought forms. They come out of this cruelty and violence. And so they're very concerned about it on the other side, and they do talk about the fact that we really need to change on this side of the Earth plane. And that's one of the reasons they're working so hard. That's one of the reasons that they're attempting to make the communication possible, so that they can tell us these things, so they can help us, so that we can realize that we are eternal beings having a physical experience, and we can start to live together in peace, love, and brotherhood. But they do have a concern, and they can predict the future. They don't say that the world is going to blow up. They don't say that awful things are going to happen. They do say that there will be hard times if we don't turn this around. They also predicted, we had a number of predictions in the instrumental transcommunication, meaning the voices that came through from the station, that people, of course, were very interested. So they asked before the election, who would be the president? Who would be the president-elect? And everyone from the other side said Trump.
Interesting. The thing about it is, Dr. Hogan, the cruelty against humans and animals and what ISIS is doing, how can, even though we are able to communicate with the other side, how can anything be done about that?
Everything has to be done one person at a time. We all have free will, so each individual has to change. In order for the Earth plane to change, every individual has to change. And the only way that we're going to be doing that is by changing minds. And there is, in the New Testament, there's a word that's used, it's called metanoia. And there's a verse that Jesus, Yeshua Bar Yosef, had said that is mistranslated as repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And it actually should have been metanoia, because that's the word for repent, and it means have a change of heart, have a change of mind, because the kingdom of heaven is here already. That's the correct translation. And what he was saying was that we have to change as individuals. We have to change inside. We have to change our attitude. We have to become more loving and compassionate. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to help people, one individual at a time, to change. So we'd like to see if we can have a whole community change, or even start with a whole group of people, and then a whole community, and then a whole nation, and then the whole world. But it's going to happen one individual at a time. So with each loving act that we do, with each measure by which we become a little more loving, we add that to humanity. And so our job is to help other people to learn that this is temporary. There's no need to try to get everything for yourself, because of the fact that it's all going to go away. You're going to be going on to another plane, and that you can live in peace, love, and brotherhood with people here. But it has to happen one individual at a time. There's no easy answer.
That sounds all well and good, Dr. Hogan, but there are so many people that think we're nuts, and they don't believe in the paranormal. So if they think this paranormal field is crazy, how do you think you're gonna get these people to talk to the afterlife?
Mm-hmm. It's because we're at the beginning. So we're actually birthing this. We're just starting. And it's much like the belief that the Earth is the center of the universe. It has not been very long since people believed that the Earth is the center of the universe, and some people still do. But everybody believed it. And you had to change minds. So what happened was that Copernicus came out in the 16th century and said, no, the Earth is not the center of the universe. The Earth is revolving around the sun. The sun is the center of a system, a solar system. But it wasn't until nearly 100 years later, that Galileo said the same thing all over again. And people didn't get the idea. And then it wasn't until decades after that people really realized that the Earth is not the center of the universe, and that there is a solar system. And then it took many years to realize that there's a solar system within a galaxy, and that the galaxy is within an area of the universe, and so on. It just takes a long time. And we are right at the beginning now. And we have people here on the Earth plane who are violently opposed to the idea of the afterlife, and communicating with people in the afterlife. And then we have people like us who know. I mean, we just do it daily. And we have loved ones coming through and helping people to have their loved ones come through. So we're both at the same time on the Earth plane right now. And it's going to take a long time. But we have to keep doing it. We have to keep helping people to understand, helping people to communicate with their loved ones. And as we do that, one individual at a time, humankind will change.
And, I was going to ask you a question. Why is it that not everybody can see a ghost, but there are some that we have seen ghosts? They've appeared to us. Why is that?
There are some people who are more attuned to not just that, but of course to mediumship, to being able to communicate with people. But those people who have that communication ability, who are mediums, many of them can then see the individual who is coming through.
No. Not a loved one, just somebody they don't even know.
There are two kinds. When we talk about ghosts, which is the Anglo-Saxon ghast, that ghastly came from. The ghost, the way that people describe it, is a spirit. It's like a vision of something, but the vision can either be something which is a vision on the ether, meaning it's a memory that's on the ether. The ether surrounds us, so it's a memory on the ether. For instance, at Gettysburg, many people have seen the troops going ghostly troops walking around the fields in Gettysburg, and they're on the ether, and their memories on the ether because of the fact that emotional things happened, very ghastly things happened there. And that's one type of spirit. The other type of spirit is a person who is on the earth plane. They have left the body, but they're still on the earth plane, and while they're on the earth plane, they're just walking around doing things like they normally would do, and then people who are sensitive are able to see them. We don't know why some people are sensitive and others are not. We just don't understand why that's true. But the people who are very sensitive are able to see them. Mm-hmm. And when they see them, then they can communicate with them. But not everybody can do that. It takes a special talent, it takes a special ability. We don't understand why some people have that ability, others don't.
Yeah, it's really strange because that has happened to me several times, and I also hear conversations. All of a sudden, I'll hear a conversation going on in my house, but I'm not a psychic or anything. It
But
happens.
you are.
No, I'm not a psychic.
Yeah. So if you have that ability it's called clairaudience, meaning that you can hear things clearly. Clairaudience means that you have an ability, a special ability. We don't know why people are wired that way. We don't know why they have the capability. We do know that people can develop their ability. They can become better at it. And that people can learn to, for instance, they can learn to communicate with their loved one on the other side by attuning their minds to the other person. So we know that we can teach people how to do that. But it's very difficult. We haven't been able to teach people how to see the spirit of a person who comes into the room, for instance, or to see the spirit of a person who's earthbound, who is on the earth plane and is staying in a house because they don't realize they've passed away, and they're living in the house and they don't know why all these strangers in here.
Oh, is that like the movie The Others? Like The Others?
Like The Others.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
I love that.
The Others is really real. I mean, that's a really depiction of it. The same with The Sixth Sense, but these are real, and Ghost, Patrick Swayze's Ghost.
Yeah.
This is very much what it's like with the people who are on the earth plane, who are earthbound, and don't realize that they're earthbound, or else would realize it and would really like to communicate, but they just can't get through to us.
Do you communicate with those kind of spirits, with the afterlife, that they don't know that they're dead and they're earthbound?
There are whole groups of people now who help to rescue them. They're called rescuers, and their job is to go to these people who are earthbound and help them to realize the fact that they are passed on to the next plane, that they're no longer in a body, and that they really need to go to the next step. It's called the second death. The first death is, of course, the physical body goes. The second death is when people are willing to leave the earth plane and go to the light, go to the next level. And so we do have people who are rescuers. They go to those who are stuck on the earth plane and help them to realize that they ought to go on, that there are better things waiting for them, and then they help them to go to the next level.
Why are they stuck here? Why haven't they been able to go higher up or wherever they're supposed to go in another dimension?
Mm-hmm. Right now, we on the earth plane, you and I, and everybody who's listening, each one of us is a mind that's using a body. But we really are the mind. The mind is all that is important. It's all that is permanent. It's all that we really are. And so when people drop the body and the mind is still there, the mind is just exactly the same way that it was. So the mind can do the things that it could do when it was in a body. It can walk around. And you do have what's called an astral body. And the astral body is a body that you can walk around in. There's another body called the etheric body. And these bodies that are actual bodies that people sense and they feel like they're in. And so then they're still walking around and they feel like they're in a body and they feel like they're on the earth plane doing the things they did before. They can sit down in places, they can go into bars, and they can ride in cars. And so they're still doing the things that they did before. And so many of them, because they can do all these things and they've got a body, they feel like they're still on the earth plane and they're still alive. And they don't understand. Some of them think they're in a dream and they're going to wake up. And so then they need to be rescued. They need to be helped along to realize that they are no longer in the physical body they were in, and they can go to the next level.
I heard you say that when our brain dies, our mind doesn't. Can you explain that?
Our minds are not in the brain. So the brain actually has nothing to do with the mind. The mind is completely independent of the brain. The brain is not necessary. Now, we know that the mind communicates directly with the body. Mind by being who we are that is outside of the body. So the mind that is outside of the body communicates directly with the body. And we know that because of experiments that have been done. One of the experiments that I'll tell you about is the scientists have put somebody in front of a monitor and they put electrodes on their fingers to measure skin conductance, which means measuring whether they're stressed or not. And they would show pictures on the monitor. The pictures would be of ghastly things like car accidents and bloody things, or they might be warm, loving things like puppies and fields of flowers and wonderful things. So they're either disturbing or there are calming pictures that are going to come up. The electrodes are on their fingers, and they measure in the computer what's happening with their electrodes. So what they do is that when they show a calming picture of bunnies, then the electrodes show that they're calm. They show an automobile wreck with a lot of blood, then they get tensed, and the computer shows that they're tensed. So the computer then was bringing up pictures randomly. Just you couldn't predict what was going to come up. The computer predicted it. And what they found was when they timed it with the computer and the pictures, that many people were reacting to the pictures 6 or 7 seconds before they were shown. Not only that, that's before the computer even chose the picture. So what we know is that the mind that's outside of the body is communicating with the body, with the stress system, is communicating with the body, and the brain doesn't even know it. The brain's not involved. So we know that the mind is not in the brain, but the mind is communicating with the body. And so when we drop off the body, or we drop off the brain, it doesn't affect the mind. The mind is still there.
I have those recordings that you sent to me. For those that are watching, we have a nice group tonight. Thank you for being here. I have some recordings that Dr. Hogan sent to me, so I'm going to play some of them. And, okay, I have them in the order that you gave them to me. Let's see. Hold on for a second. Let me get my paper. Okay, so this one. All right, the first one. Whoops. Hold on. All right, the first one is, it's where the mother asks if her child is happy. Do you want to say anything about it before I play it?
Well, these are the instrumental transcommunication. This is the thing, what we're teaching people to do now. We're freely teaching people how to do it. So what happens is that you'll hear the gibberish, you'll hear the noise of the vocal background, and then you'll hear the mother, and she's on a telephone, so it's going to sound very tinny. And she's asking the question of her child on the other side. And they're recording both the vocal background, the mother who's on the phone and sounds tinny, and then when they play that back, they hear the child responding to the mother.
Okay, and the response to the mother asks if her child is happy, and the response was all the time. And so this is a very short one. I'm going to play it right now.
Alexandria, are you happy?
All right. Then the next one we have is, hold on. Is are you in heaven? Do you want to talk about that one?
This is the same circumstances, but it's another parent, another mother, and she asks the question of the child, are you in heaven? And the child responds, I am.
All right, I'm going to play that.
Are you in heaven?
All right, and then the next one. Okay, this one is, hold on. Okay, this one, I already played that one. Let's see, this one.
I didn't hear them. Are you hearing them?
I'm not, I only played it once. You didn't hear it? It says I am?
Didn't hear it.
All right, let me play it again. Hold on.
Okay.
See if it'll play it again, because I had them to shut off.
Are you in heaven?
Viewers, did you hear that? Yeah, it comes really fast because it was only 3 seconds. Yeah, I heard it loud and clear.
Okay, good deal. Okay.
All right, then the next one, I think this one is Hi, Sweetie, from the mother.
Mother, again, the mother called in. It's a different mother. and said, "Hi, sweetie, this is Mom." And he says, "Hi, Mom."
All right, here we go. I've got the wrong caption on it, but all right. Then the next one is, yeah. The next one is where the mother asks the son if he still loves her.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to?
And that's the same circumstance. Another mother who asked, "Do you still love me?" And he responded, "I love you."
All right, I'm gonna play that. This one is really short.
You still love me.
All right, then. All right, now these two are from Sonia Raldi. Do you want to tell them again about her?
Sure. Sonia Raldi is the Portuguese. Is in Portuguese. It's the Brazilian station that she's communicating with. They've been communicating since 2001, so they're much more sophisticated. The North American station that we communicate with is still developing, and so they're getting the signal stronger and stronger, but it's not as clear as hers is. But hers is very clear. You're going to hear in these two excerpts that she gets, they're in English. She couldn't get very many in English for me, but she did it as a favor for me. But she did get two of them in English, and so you're going to hear the kinds of responses she's getting, and we will eventually be getting the same clarity of responses.
Oh, you know what? Let me see. When the computer... Okay, you know what? I don't have that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What happened here? Hold on for a minute. I'm not sure what happened. Okay, that's that one. I am. Then this one says, I love you. And then this one says, Douglas describes a little of the afterlife.
No, that's different. That's Leslie Flint.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then let me see this one. The Queen Alexander. And then this one says...
Those are the Leslie Flint recordings you have are from that direct voice medium from the 20th century.
Right. All right,
and these are the voices that came through when Leslie Flint was sitting in the darkened room, and the people from the other side would speak at length. And you can hear these. They're much like just having somebody speak over the microphone.
All right, hold on. Let me see if I can... hold on. I don't know what I think they're just labeled wrong. Hold on for a second. Let me go find your file. All right, here. All right, so what we want is... Hi, Mommy, I can talk.
That's one of Sonia Raldi's,
Okay, here, let me see if I can pull this in without losing the...
Okay. In the meantime, I'll tell you that what you're going to hear is, you're going to hear Sonia with her Portuguese accent, and she will ask a question of a child for the parent, and then the child responds in the message that then was given to the parent. In this particular instance, Sonia had over 200 messages in this one session for the parent, and this just happens to be one of them that I picked out.
All right, I'm going to play it.
Would you like to leave a message to your mother?
Mommy, I can talk.
Would you like to leave a message to your mother?
Mommy,
All right, then the other one is ready at this point, so let me find that recording.
And the other one from Sonia Raldi, because she worked with me, she's working with me now, she had my mother come through. So you're going to hear a recording that is actually Sonia asking her a question in her Portuguese accent, and then you're going to hear my mother give her response.
All right, here we go. This one's 5 seconds. Right, here
Can
we go.
Mrs. Rosemary say something to Craig?
Ready at this point.
Can Mrs. Rosemary say something to Craig?
Ready at this point.
Can...
All right. Hold on. I gotta make sure it ends. All right. Then, okay, now I got the other ones. So, all right, now the other ones are from Leslie Flint. Okay.
These are Leslie Flint. He's the direct voice medium. He would sit in a room and voices would come out of a voice box that he had. That they formed. The spirit team formed it. It's not something like that he built. The spirit team, when he was in the dark, they would form a voice box out of parts of his body, out of called ectoplasm. And they would form the voice box, and then people would speak through the voice box. It formed so that it would have the voice like the person. So what you're going to hear is you're going to hear the people speaking, and it will be very distinctively their voices. Which one are you going to play first?
Okay, this is the Con Archers, Ira Con Archer.
Ira and Douglas Conacher, and they were publishers in London, and Douglas passed away, and so Ira, who's his wife, would come in and sit with Leslie Flint, and she did this every day, or every week for months, and she would just come in and sit like they were talking at the breakfast table. So you're going to hear Ira, who is the woman, and then you're going to hear Douglas, the male voice. That's the Douglas in spirit speaking.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
If you read any of the naturalists, you were so fond of natural history.
Oh, yes, I have.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
You must always remember that as we have a human life, we have a nature life, and we have birds, we have many of the animals that you associate with life on your side, and I do love color.
Yes, so do I. Well, you know that.
Full of color.
Yes.
Magnificent color.
Yes.
And many colors in which you have no knowledge existed.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last one, this one is Queen Alexander.
Mm-hmm. Queen Alexander, who was the Queen of Denmark, and she passed, and this is a description that she gives of what it was like when she first woke up on the other side.
All right, here we go. And this one, oh yeah, this one. Now this one's 1 minute and 47 seconds, guys.
Can you tell us, actually, when you passed over, where you found yourself? Not not exactly country, but how you found yourself?
If I may, remember very vividly awakening in a room which was very reminiscent of a room that I'd been very fond of many years previously in my earthly existence. In every way, it seemed to be an exact replica. The colorings, the materials, the furnishings, in fact, everything about it was a perfect reproduction. In fact, so much so that I did not realize at first that I passed on at all. And I remember only too well the very beautiful view from the window of the beautiful green grass, lawns and terraces, and at the bottom, far in the distance, the river. It was a spot which I had been most fond of. And in this room on my awakening were many of my relations and friends that I had known. It was almost like a kind of reception, which of course it was, and I must admit it was a great joy to me to meet all these friends and all these souls that had meant so much to me in my earthly life, and to have the feeling of peace and the realization that it was an environment in the very room in which I was most happy. It was a room that had given me great joy and pleasure many, many years previously.
Okay. The viewers love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We have thousands of those recordings.
Oh, I would love to hear the ones where they talk about the other side and what it's like on the other side. I would love to hear that.
They're wonderful. Yeah. And they're at ADC Guides or the Leslie Flint Foundation. It's at leslieflint.com, but they have recordings as well.
All right, so we have a lot of questions for you. So let me
Sure.
let me put you on full screen, and then let me retrieve the questions for you. Okay?
Sure.
All right, hold on. Whoa, okay. All right. Joanne Dion, question. Can you let us hear a recording? Oh, I just did, Dion. She wanted to know about a recording communication, and I just did. Glenda Justiano, do aliens have a soul?
When we talk about aliens, we're using our term, and that has all kinds of connotations that go along with it, about, the spaceships and grays and all of the other things that go along with it. What we have to understand is that there are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So we're having a physical experience, and we're using these bodies. They're having a physical experience, and they're using different bodies. They're just living on a different plane. So these people who are having spiritual experiences are spiritual people. They have consciousness that will live forever. We will have dialogues with them when we cross over. It's no difficulty being able to be in communication with them. So it's a kind of a different experience. They just are in a different body. We are in the bodies that we have on the earth plane, but we're all one consciousness. We all come from the source, which is what people would call God, and we are all having experiences just on different planes.
Another question from Jenny Jacobs. What about meeting God?
When you think of God is not like an old man that sits on a mountain and has a long beard and throws thunderbolts. That really that's a kind of an old view of who God is. There is nothing but God. Everything is God. It's the source, the power, the higher power. It is the power that creates everything. Our consciousness, our bodies, this whole plane of existence, the other planes of existence, they are all God. So in other words, then there isn't a separate entity or a separate thing that's creating all of this. We are part of God. We are the mind of God.
Okay, from Tiffany Twisted. What about reincarnation? How are these spirits, i.e. Shakespeare, Tesla, etc., still spirits and not reincarnated? Also, do humans who cross over become spirit guides?
The first question about reincarnation. People misunderstand reincarnation. We're just beginning to really understand what reincarnation is because they're telling us well now and clearly from the other side what it is. When an individual incarnates onto a plane, the earth plane for instance, or another one of the million planes, when that person incarnates, they are part of a higher self. That higher self is a larger self, and they are only one individual piece of it, or only one individual part of it. So the person who incarnates as an individual is part of the higher self that has many individuals that are part of it. And so the many individuals are incarnating. But once we've incarnated as the individual whom we are, that I am Craig, I will be an individual for as long as I want to be on the other side, for thousands of years if I want to. And so then the individual that is incarnating is also part of the higher self that has many individuals incarnating. And so we will stay an individual, but another part of our higher self is going to come back and become another individual. That's the reincarnation. It's really not a reincarnation as much as it is an incarnation. So, but they are all part of who we are. So that those other individuals are part of who we are as individuals. But they're always available. We've heard stories about people who are thousands of years old who are living on the other side as individuals, but they are part of that larger individual.
Also, do humans who cross over become spirit guides?
People who cross over can become spirit guides, And the reverse can happen. Spirit guides can decide they want to incarnate on the earth plane because they want to do something for humankind, or they have a mission for humankind, so that the spirit guides can incarnate as individuals, and the individuals who go to the other side can become spirit guides. So you can have your primary guide, or the person who spends the most time with you and is most concerned with you can be somebody who was a loved one that you had.
So if you incarnate, are you still, if you were a female your first life, would you be a female your second life?
Now you understand that the individual stays an individual, so I will always be a male.
Oh.
As long as I want to stay, as long as I don't want to go to a higher level in which I no longer care about bodies and being males or anything like that. But as long as I want to stay a male, I will be a male, and I will be an individual. I will be Craig. But other people are now incarnating that are part of my higher self. And it's just like, we were 5 years old, and we were 1 year old, and we were 10 years old, and 15 years old, and 20 years old. And every one of those individuals that we say is me. That baby picture of me when I was a toddler, then I would say, yes, that's Craig. But it really wasn't the Craig whom I am now, but it's part of me. That Craig that was an infant is part of who I am now. The Craig who was 10 is part of who I am now. The Craig who was 20. All of these are part of who I am now. But if you can imagine that each one of those was an incarnation, and that individual, that toddler, continued to live throughout eternity, or as long as they wanted to, then they could. But they are still part of me, part of the Craig whom I am now. So that we have individuals, and each one of us as an individual will always be the individual. So I will always be a male as long as I want to be a male, and then another part of my higher self can incarnate as a female, can go into a soul group, and can then have experiences with the soul group.
What about your personality?
The personality is distinctive. So in other words, then this other individual is going to have their unique personality, and I have mine, a unique personality. I'll keep it as long as I want to. I'll keep growing.
Very interesting. There's what has been said for so long is that when we're born, before we're born, we pick out our parents. Now, is that true?
Mm-hmm. You need to read a book by Rob Schwartz. It's called Your Soul's Plan. And Rob has had mediums who have taken people back into the period of time when they actually were planning their lives. So you do go through a planning period, and you do decide the family you'd like to go into and the circumstances, because you have lessons you want to learn in the earth plane. So you make all of those decisions, and then when you come into the incarnation, when you come into the body, then you will carry that out when you become mature enough to be able to carry it out. But you made all those choices. Every one of the choices are exit points. When we decide to exit, that's a choice that we made before we incarnated. All of these things, and the person, as far as the deciding when the individual becomes part of the body, the individual, the soul, the mind, was always part of the body. Had planned before the body was even there. Had made those decisions. And so then that's one of the reasons that we know that the concern over the fact that a child has passed before they've been born for some reason, the concern over that is really not necessary, because that soul, that person, could never be harmed. And so they will simply incarnate into another body. So there's no difficulty involved in that. And those children who decide to stay with the mother and the father, who instead of incarnating into another body, if they loved a mother and father and they didn't come to term for some reason, any reason at all, then they will grow up on the other side and they will have a reunion when the mother and father get there.
And you know that for a fact?
Yes. I hear that many, many times.
Now, why would somebody pick a family like that one lady, her first name was Susan, I can't remember her last name, where she drowned her all 3 kids? Why would you want to go to that family?
The body is meaningless. The physical realm is meaningless. Nothing in the physical realm is important. So when a person incarnates into the physical realm, they incarnate to learn lessons, and they choose something that they need to do, or they need a route they have to choose within their lifetime. And what seems horrendous and awful to us is part of a plan, part of what it is that they've decided to do. And the events that happen on the earth plane are just temporary. It's just like walking into a movie, and the movie goes on, and then you walk back out and the movie's gone. And that's what the earth plane is. And so we put too much importance on the body, on the things that happen to the body on the earth plane, because it really is not important.
Another question I have is, why is it important for someone that's on the other side, who had issues with a human when they were alive and want their forgiveness? Why is that important?
Because they're still the same person. Still the same person they were. And what happens is when somebody goes to the other side and they have baggage, they have these conflicts and they have issues and there are difficulties involved. When the person goes to the other side, it doesn't take very long for them to live on the other side before they realize that it really didn't matter. It just was not important. All of these things that seemed like they were so important had no importance at all. And so when they get to the other side, then they have a change of mind. They change in their attitude. And once they change in their attitude, then very often the person on the other side who needs forgiveness from the person on this side is going to ask for it, is going to beg for it. The person on the other side who needs to get forgiveness from the person on this side will ask for it, will want to have it. But they are changed people when they get to the other side. It's very different. Now, when they immediately pass, when they immediately transition, they are the same individual. But over a period of time, and it doesn't have to be very long, they realize that what was important to them on the earth plane really didn't matter. It just really didn't matter. And so now they want the forgiveness, or they want to give the forgiveness.
Another question from David Coffin. Is the place where people will come across chairs in the forest, just up in a tree, or on the ground in the middle of nowhere, a place for someone to watch over that area?
I'm kind of guessing at what it is that you're getting at. I think that you're saying, if you walk into a forest and you see a chair up in a tree, does that mean that someone on the other side or spirit put it there because there's somebody who is watching over that forest or watching over that area? And I don't believe that that's true. I don't have any instance of knowing that that's true or hearing about that.
Okay. Act 2. Is there something preventing certain types of information from coming to our side?
I know what you mean. We are limited because of the fact that we're in Earth School, and we have to play by the rules of the Earth School. And that means that if we get too much information of some kind, then it can take us out of Earth School. It can create a problem for us. And so whatever is in our best interest, that's what we'll learn. That's what we'll find out about. If it's not in our best interest, if it's going to interfere with our time in Earth School, then we're not going to find out about it. But as far as whether those on the other side are going to eventually be able to communicate directly and tell us how we can improve the Earth and tell us how we can eliminate the problems with violence and cruelty, they want to do that and they can do that. So eventually they will be able to do that to help humankind to be able to mature and to grow out of this abyss that we are now in right now.
Now, I remember you telling us that when we use our voice recorders and other types of form of communication, that we're connecting with those that are on the lower level, that are on Earth's plane.
Mm-hmm.
And so, would that explain why, when you are communicating with a spirit in some form, when you and they respond to you, but then when you start talking about what is it like on the other side, they stop answering you? It's because they don't know.
and they're not interested. They don't want to really help you out. They don't want you to help you to understand. So yeah, they have their own agenda. They are earthbound. They don't know what it's like because they haven't gone beyond the earth plane, and so then they're just going to stop communicating. It's no fun anymore.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what happened to me. They stopped responding to me, period, when I started asking about the other side. They were gone, poof.
Yeah, it's no fun. I'm out of here.
Oh, I'll be darned. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That explains
the earthbounds,
it.
I understand what the earthbounds are doing. Some of the earthbounds are here because they like to do things like that are mischievous. So if a person liked to set fires when they were on the earth plane and they were in a body, then when they pass, they're going to want to stay on the earth plane because they can't set fires if they go up beyond it. And so they stay on the earth plane, and they will be attracted to people who also like to set fires who are still in bodies. And they will stick around them, and they'll try to influence them, and they'll say, look at that building. Wouldn't it be great if that was on fire? Can you imagine if fire trucks coming up? And they're inspiring that person because we're mind-to-mind communication. So they are getting these messages from this person, this lower-level entity. So the lower-level entities, when we say that they are attracted to people, they are attracted to people who will be open to them and who will do these mischievous things. So that we just have to, it can happen to people who are alcoholics, people who are addicted, people who are chronically angry, who have conflict management problems. All these things attract people from the other side, who are earthbound and are still on the earth plane and are anxious to be doing those things they did when they were on the earth plane, and so they're going to try to influence them.
You know, I meant to ask you this question earlier, and I saw somebody in the chat room ask. It went by so fast. I know we're not taking any more questions because we have a lot. What about those that commit suicide? I think it was Janet Wolf. What about those that commit suicide?
Mm-hmm. People who commit suicide are met with great compassion and understanding and love because they've gone through a terrible time. But the suicide is never a happy time. It's not happy for the people on the other side. It's always a very sad time, and the sadness continues. And it's unhappy for the people who who are still alive on this side. And that person who commits suicide now is one with them, mind to mind. It's because we are all one, but we don't get the signals. But when the body drops off, then they become one with them and get everything. So they'll get all of the sadness, all of the grief, all of the recriminations, the guilt feelings that people have. And so they're getting those. They're feeling every one of them that the people are feeling. And their loved ones on the other side are feeling them. So that, if mom and dad are over there and the child commits suicide, then they're going to get all the bad feelings that the siblings get on this side, and the aunts and uncles and the others. They're going to feel all of that. So what this person who's committed suicide has done, they're not punished. There's no judgment. There's no judgment at all on the other side. The idea of heaven and hell, the hell thing, that's an awful myth. But what happens is that they then are going to experience those feelings of all the people still on the earth plane. All the others who are in their family are going to experience them. And it's going to be a very, very sad time. It is not a good reunion. It is not a joyous reunion. And eventually then they will grow beyond it, but they always regret when they've been over there for just a few hours or a few days, then they realize that what they left, that if they had gone through whatever it was they were having difficulty with, then they could have overcome it, they could have continued to live their life, and they could have been in love and peace and joy. Now, if a person commits suicide, it's better to say that if a person decides that they want to end their time on Earth School because of pain, because of disability, because of awful things that have happened to the body, then their decision is a decision that's honored and accepted by those on the other side and by those on this side, and it's an entirely different situation. There is no judgment, there is no condemnation about it. It's just that this is the time when they felt like it was their exit time, they needed to get out, and everybody understands that. So that's a whole different circumstance.
Well, if we have guides, why don't they help the person that wants to commit suicide?
They do. They just don't listen.
Oh.
If they listened, if they could just stop and listen, then the guides would help them. But they can't interfere with their free will. So in other words, they can't simply hold them back or put them in a different place or do anything that will change their life. The person has free will, and so they have to make their own decisions. So the guides are trying to inspire them and trying to bring them up, and they're also trying to bring other people into their lives. And so they're inspiring someone to come into their life and try to help them to understand and try to bring them up out of this mire that they're in, this black area they're in. And so they really do try, but they can't just force them to.
Okay. Another question from Keisha Hedrick. I see my deceased husband sometimes during my out-of-body experiences, but he won't tell me who killed him. He avoids the question and changes the subject. Why would he do that?
There are all kinds of reasons. One of the foremost reasons is they don't really care. It's like, forget it, just drop it. It is not important. You know, what's important is you going on with your life and having the life that you need to have. And I'm going on with my life, but I'm with you all the time. And we're going to have a wonderful reunion in just the blink of an eye. So one of the reasons is they just don't care. It just doesn't make any difference to them. Another reason is because it will create problems on the earth plane for you or for that individual or for another family member, or they will very carefully do things that are in your best interest. And since the body doesn't matter, things like the death doesn't matter, they're going to be more concerned about you and your eternal life and your soul and your spirit than they are about finding the person who perpetrated a murder or did something.
All right, this is from Lolly Tubi. Do you think it's possible that our true nature is spirit and this body is just a biological spacesuit we need in order to live on Earth? And how does reincarnation and time fit in all of this? Come on.
Yes, you're right. I mean, that's what it is. This is we are in this biological spacesuit, as you say. We have chosen to be in this body. We've chosen the body that we chose. We chose the identity, the gender, the disabilities that we are going to have, all of these things that we chose. So we chose the body that we're going to be in. But the body is just like a tattered old overcoat, and we just throw it away whenever it's done. So we are not permanently in this body and not permanently aligned with it in any way. So you're right. That's exactly the way that it is.
All right. Another question. Grandpa Obvious. Dr. Hogan, why do entities on the other side say such mundane things when contacted?
Mm-hmm. It's because the things that are important to them now are not the answers to the puzzles of the universe, and they're not the lottery numbers, or they're not anything having to do with the things that we think are just really cosmic and important. And what they're concerned about is us as individuals and personalities. They're concerned that they want us to know that they love us, that they hear us, that they're concerned about us, that they're watching over us. These are the things that are important. All those other things that we think are so important, like the answers to the great questions of life, are just not important. They don't matter. And so what they're doing is they're concerned with us as individuals, with the love that we have between us. And so that's why they talk about what seems to us to be mundane things, but they're very important. They're the most important things.
Okay. Another question from Keisha Hendrick. Do people who have hard lives like alcoholics, addicts, or mentally ill get special care when they pass over?
Yes. When a person passes over, they carry the personality with them. So that the alcoholics, it still has the alcoholic personality, but the alcoholism or the alcohol is not there. They do have to grow out of that. They have to grow out of whatever it is that they had happen to them. They don't simply change. They don't simply drop all of that. So when they go on to the next plane of life, they do go through a period of growth, and they're helped. They have helpers. There are counselors. There are loved ones who are there, and everybody is trying to help them to grow out of that. And they do pretty rapidly because of the fact that it's a whole different circumstance. They realize that they're eternal beings. That's why it's so important. If we all realized that we were eternal beings, we would change. We wouldn't have these difficulties. We wouldn't have these problems. But we believe that we're just in a body for a period of time, and we got to get everything that we can get out of it because this is all there is, and so I'm going to get whatever I can get, regardless of what happens to other people. And that all would go away if we just, as individuals, as humanity, would realize this is just temporary. This is Earth school. And we are brothers and sisters. We are together. We are one. And we can live together in love, peace, and joy.
Lovely Tubby had a second part to her question. It was, how does reincarnation and time fit in all of this?
Time is something which is on the earth plane. We have time because of the fact that we have to have events happen, and we have to have memories of them, and we have to have a period of time during which all of this happens. We have 100 years, less than 100 years, and we've got to have all these things happen. And so there is a time that we have from day to day on the earth plane that we have to be in Earth school. When the next plane describes time, they say there is no time because there's no sun, there's no moon, you don't have daylight and darkness, so there's no passage of time in that way. But there is what they say is a sort of time. In other words, people do grow on the other side, and people do have things happen. They have memories of what happened, but there's no, because of the fact that they're eternal, they have no sense of time. It's just that things happen. They grow through things, they experience things, but they don't have to worry about yesterdays and futures and all those other things having to do with time. So they don't have a real sense of time. There is no time. It is experiences. And so we on the earth plane have a real rigid sense of time. Everybody has a wristwatch on because they're concerned about the sense of time. That's not there when they go on to the next plane of life. But we can go into the past, into the future, in the next plane of life. We can go anywhere we want to in time, because time is not the way that we think of it now as the arrow of time from past, present to future. It doesn't happen like that.
All right. Jenny Jacobs wants to know, what about God on the other side? A lot of us believe we see or meet him.
You will see and meet the entity, the God, that is most important to you in your time on Earth school. And what I mean by that is that you will experience Jesus if Jesus is important to you, and Jesus will be whom you think that he is. And he is the embodiment, or he is the messenger of God. And that is very important to you. And because it's important to you, then you will have that. When you go to the other side, then you will have your experiences. When you first come to the other side, if you desperately need to have someone there, such as Jesus, then you will have that person there. But as far as whether these people, there are 4,200 religions on the earth plane, and 4,200 different gods, and many of them have many gods, and so every one of them does not have none of them is the right God, is what I mean to say. And what's most important is what happens to us as individuals on the earth plane, and how we grow, and how we treat each other, and how we show our love for both God and meaning both the creator, the source, and for ourselves and for other people. And that's what's most important.
I'm looking at the chat room, and Charmy Vapes, she's asking the same thing that I had asked you. Do we sleep on the other side? But also explain to them again about eating and singing and all that, and cooking.
Yeah, sure. Anything that you want to do, anything that you really, really want to do that you are still tied to, then you will be able to do that on the other side. And it's not that you make it happen. It's not like you create it. It just is available to you. So if you feel the need to eat, and as soon as you feel the need to eat, then you walk into the other room, which is the kitchen, and sure enough, there's a refrigerator there. And whatever it is that you need, so you can eat, you can smoke, you can drink, you can, if you want to sleep on the other side, whatever it is that you feel the need to. Now, whatever, you are going to outgrow all that. So it's not going to take very long before you leave all of that behind, and you realize, I don't really need it. I don't really need what this is, and so you stop needing it, and as soon as you stop needing it, it's no longer there because you don't want it anymore.
Okay, Venter Storm, if you are still taking, is there anyone afterlife, or, is there only one afterlife, or are there multiple, like heaven and hell?
Let's start with heaven and hell. There is no heaven, there is no hell. Get that out of the way, because that's a mythology. Even the early church didn't believe it. In the first century church, the idea of heaven and hell grew out of the church, and primarily in the second century. The idea of Hades, the Hades was only the place of the dead where people were no longer seen. It didn't have the connotations that it has now. That developed over time. So there is no such thing as hell. What's most important about that is the fact that people are not judged. Nobody is judged. Nobody is condemned. And you grow through your life and you learn lessons. So there is no heaven and hell. But on the other side, most of us are going to go from the earth plane into a place that's called Summerland by the Theosophists. And Summerland is that wonderful plane that has all of the really neat things about living on the earth plane. It has, it has rivers and oceans and mountains and opportunities to do things like go to concerts and go to plays and learn things and read books. In fact, when you read the books on the other side, the books actually read themselves to you. So that what happens is that you get the author's intent. You actually understand what the author meant by things that happen. So in that wonderful Summerland, that's where we're able to stay for as long as we want, as we mature spiritually and go beyond that. But we can also then go on to other planes if we want to, if we wanted to go on to another plane. So there is no afterlife as such, in the sense that this is life and that's the afterlife. It's all just life. The earth plane is a spiritual plane. We're already on a spiritual plane. This is just one of the many millions of spiritual planes. And so we go from this spiritual plane to another spiritual plane. And that's all life. And we then, when we incarnate or when we go on to have other experiences, we can go any place we want.
Okay, from Tina Yacht. How did Dr. Hogan come to know all of this? What did he have happen to him? And how does he know all this is true?
Okay, those are two different questions. How did this happen to me? I was drawn to it. I learned that I have psychic ability, and I was given psychic ability, and so I learned that I had it, and that opened up the universe for me, because before that I was not a believer in much of anything. And so I was drawn to it, and when I knew that I had psychic ability, then I started to learn about the afterlife, and I was drawn into that. And the more that I learned about the afterlife, the more I was consumed by it. I wanted to learn more. And so I read books on it, and I met people, and eventually I started listening to and meeting mediums, people who were communicating with people on the other side, and started listening to recordings of mediums. And they are in touch. It's like these are the people who have the phone line to the other side. And they have learned about the other side. They've learned about these other realms, and they then are teaching us. They're bringing it through and saying these things, and we hear the same thing from all of the mediums over a period of 200 years. They all say the same thing, and they're all giving it to us, and we all know that it's true. And so the more you learn and the more you open yourself to it, the more it's all brought to you, because you understand that the guides, your guides, and your helpers on the other side are trying to help you to mature. They want you to become loving and compassionate, to understand the afterlife, to understand where you're going. And so they're going to bring things to you, the more open you are to them. And as what happened was that I just kept learning about it, kept opening myself to it, to the point that now I am dedicated. My entire life is dedicated to this work.
Yeah, I can tell you, I've been doing live show. I've been airing live shows since 2008, and this whole afterlife and what happens to us when we die has greatly evolved. I used to get depressed when they would tell me one of the answers I used to get before, but it's not the same anymore. It's so different.
It's not the same. Yeah, we know now. We know. There are no doubts.
All right. Let's see. Grandpa Obvious. Are the earthbound spirits ever happy without moving on?
No, the earthbound spirits are not. They are in some state in which they are discontented. It can be that they are mischievous and they want to stay on the earth plane to do mischief. It can be because there is unfinished business. There's somebody they feel very guilty about harming. They want to stay around on the earth plane because of that. It can be because they think they're sleeping and they're going to wake up, and they don't know how to wake up, but there usually is some disturbance involved in it. They're not people who just decide, hey, I'm going to stay here for another 100 years, and I'm just going to look at people while they shower and just have a good time. That's not the way it is. Pretty much the people who stay around are disturbed by something.
And Applewood. In an alien interview with alien named Ariel, from the crash of Roswell in 1947, she stated afterlife is a myth and used to recycle our soul. She called Earth a prison planet. Is any part of that true?
We have a science now of the afterlife. It is a science because we can say we have evidence. We have many, many thousands of statements of evidence from people who have come from the other side, who have communicated with the other side, and we can only rely upon the testimonies of these many thousands of people. We cannot rely on the testimony of one individual. It doesn't matter who that person is, whether they're a guru or whether they say they're divine or whatever it is they say they are, or alien. We can't rely on one person when we have thousands of testimonies from people about the afterlife, about eternity, about who we are, and we have them. And those thousands of testimonies that we have all say the same thing to us. And there's a unanimous understanding of the fact that the afterlife is really just another life. It's part of this life, and that we continue. We are eternal beings. We will never end.
Wow. Lolly Tubi. Question. Isn't personality molded by the experiences we have?
Well, that's called the nature and nurture controversy. It's whether our personalities are molded more by nurture, meaning the way that we grow up, or whether it's by nature, meaning the way that we were wired when we were born. And there is some of both. So some of our personalities are because we decided when we planned this incarnation, we planned that things were going to happen, that our personalities then were developed. It's rather like it was because they were developed because we were wired that way. And many of the other things having to do with personality have to do with nurture. How were we reared? Who did we spend our life with in the early years? How were we treated during that time? So the personality does evolve. The spiritual part of who we are, in other words, the part of us that's going to grow, sometimes doesn't evolve or doesn't change or doesn't come out until the 50s or 60s, because of the fact that you have to come to a point at which you have the spiritual growth. And so then you may spend the first part of your whole life just going through life, and your personality is doing what you do normally do, and you get a job, and you're trying to be successful, and you want to raise a family, and all of these things. And then finally start the spiritual part, and that can be in a very late stage in a person's life, or it could start in their 20s. It could conceivably start then. But we do have a personality, the spiritual part of us that grows and becomes loving and learns to be compassionate. That is something which evolves, and that can evolve later, and it's with the help of the guides on the other side. It's distinctive from either the wiring or the personality we get as children, and it blooms and blossoms because of the fact that we're listening to the other side, listening to our guides, and we're learning from them, and we're growing as a result of that.
Wow. All right, one last question from Janet Wolf. Do the people on the other side, do they really know who you are?
Oh yeah, they are just the same people they were when they were here, and they just are not using a body, and they then, when they go off of the earth plane, when they go through that second death and they go through the light, they have their own bodies. They're just as solid and just as physical as we are, just like we do. So then they continue, but the mind is the same. They always remember who we are. They always have the experiences, the memories of the experiences that they have. Their personalities then will become more mature on the other side because they have a new perspective. But their personalities are the same. They are the same person. And then when we have the reunion with them, they'll be the same person. And we'll talk about our lives that we had while we were on the earth plane, and we'll talk about what happened since then and what they saw that you were doing when they were on that plane of life. And it's a wonderful time. It's going to be a wonderful time. It's going to be like Thanksgiving dinner, where everybody comes together.
I love
and you just share experiences, and you share what's been going on with you, and you have all the same personality that you had.
Wow. Oh, I can't tell you how wonderful and what a pleasure it was to have you on the show. Now, everybody, I'm going to show you some of the books that Dr. Hogan has written. I'm showing them now. It's hard for me to see, but there's Afterlife Communication. Hold on. Afterlife Communication. Oh, one got deleted. Your Eternal Self. And then you also have induced after-death communication, after death, and guided afterlife connections. Those are all awesome topics there. A lot of information for people. Now, how can they get a hold of you if somebody wants to learn how to connect with the afterlife?
All they have to do is go to afterlifeinstitute.org. Afterlifeinstitute.org. And you can see about the Institute, and you can see about us, and there's contact information there. And if you contact, because I'm the president and I'm the person who does the contact work, then if you use the contact information, you'll get to me.
Wow. What an interesting, enlightening show tonight. It was an honor to have you on the show, and I thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. And you have a wonderful holiday. Happy Thanksgiving and happy, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Wow. I hope you guys all enjoyed the show. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating topic tonight, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I want to thank my mods tonight, Royce, Annie, and Crystal, for always being here with me, and appreciate it a lot. And everybody, thank the mods. They do a wonderful job in the show. We have a great chat room. I also want to thank... if those of you who are new to the show, it looked like we had some new names tonight. If you would please subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it. Hey guys, don't forget to give the show a like. It was absolutely fascinating. And I also want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to be so sad when it's over with next week. This is my favorite time of the year. I absolutely love it. And I'm so looking forward to the holidays. Also, guys... I am so excited about next, when we come back, December 1st, I'm so excited about this show. On December 1st, I have a guest. He's been on TV, and he's written these books, The Mountain of... Okay, his new book, hold on, is, do I have a audio in there? Yeah. He's written Mountain of the Dead, and his latest book is Journey to the Dyatlov Pass. And he's going to give us an update on the Dyatlov Pass incident, and I'm really, really excited about that. It's going to be so awesome. He actually went to Russia, and he was able to get into the archived information on the incident, and we're going to go over. Now, you're going to have to know the story. I did a full in-depth show on the Day at Love Pass incident, and you're going to have to, I'll send you the link. Actually, it's on my channel, the Day at Love Pass incident. You're going to have to watch that, and you're going to have to watch it in order to know the story for December 1st. You're going to have to know the story, okay? And that show that we did was in depth. Now, this guest that I'm having on is the expert on the Day at Love Pass incident, and I'm so excited I can't stand it. It's, oh my gosh. He lives in England, and he was gracious enough to come on my show and let me keep my normal show time. So I'm really excited about that. Also, on December 5th, I have a special show. That's a Monday. Don't forget, December 8th and December 15th will be my last show. I'm going to take... I think I'm going to take 2 weeks off and then come back on January 5th. I already have a guest for January 5th. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe and give the show a like. And I'd really appreciate it. I think hold on for a second. I don't think I have a microphone. Yeah, I do. How come that didn't work? All right, let me see if this works. Testing. Oh yeah, I got audio. So I'm back on my channel. Yay, back on my channel, my main channel. And don't forget, you can sign up for show reminders. This way, if there's any inconvenience again, you'll know where I'm streaming from, because I do have my backup channel, Live Paranormal Zone. That's my backup channel. It's just, I want to take 2 weeks off in December. I need a little break, guys. Maybe I'll get, maybe I don't know. I don't know if I'll do a show on the 29th or not, but if I do, I'll let you all know. I'll post it. That's why you should sign up for show reminders, and you'll know if I'm going to have a show or not. But I really had planned to take 2 weeks off. I really like to have the 2 weeks off. But I'm doing 4 shows in December. I'm doing 4 shows. So, and the extra one is going to be on a Monday. And don't forget, in January starts up the new series, Unexplained Mysteries, with Vanessa Hogan. She is a psychic and a remote viewer, and I'm really excited about airing those shows with her. And I also talked to her about, after we do these shows, sometimes information comes in where they may find has to do with the case, just like with the case with John Benet. There was information that came in, and Vanessa was right on. Anyway, I forget what show somebody had a name for it, where we'll go back over the evidence of the show to see if there was any information. If we get information on those cases, we'll do another show on that as well. But it'll be every other Monday with Vanessa on unsolved mysteries and disappearances, and I'm really excited about that. So don't forget, sign up for show reminders. Royce will post the link. It's paranormalzone.tv, and there's a tab and it says show reminders. So I'll be back. So anyway, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I will be back on December 1st I'm so excited. I can't wait to do that show. Thank you so much. I want to tell you, it's a lot of work trying to find guests for the show. It's a lot of work. So I have a couple of shows already scheduled for January, but I'm going to have to start doing a lot of work trying to find really good guests for the shows, topics that I enjoy myself, and hopefully the viewers will enjoy as well. And I try to do that. I've been so lucky. Do you know how 99% of the people that come on the show have written books? They either have master's degrees or doctorates. Do you realize that? These people that come on my show are highly intelligent people, and I've been so fortunate to have them come on my show. Or they're the best in what they do. They're the best in their field. And I've been so lucky to have them on my show. You guys are really lucky to have these people. And a lot of them, bless their hearts, I asked them to please come on with Skype and a video camera so that you could see them. And the majority of them, they listen to me and they do that. I think it's wonderful that you're able to. I'll never do radio. That's not my thing. But I want you to be able to see your guest, and that's really important to me because my show is a video show. It's not radio. So anyway, I do my best for all of you. I work really hard, and it's very, very time consuming, and but I love what I do, and I love the people that come in my show. You guys are all awesome. My mods do a fabulous job, and they really control the chat room, and that's why it's so nice. It's so nice to have everybody come in because we want you to be able to enjoy yourself when you come into these shows. We don't believe in drama, and everybody... It's a family affair. Everybody has to be nice to one another. That's what we want. And anyway, so let me do some shout outs. And if those have left already, again, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you back on December 1st. So let's do some shout outs. Applewood, Astral Virgin, Janet Wolf, Unique Annie, one of my mods, I love you. Maria Sandra Amador, Keith. Oh, Keith! Keith Rommel, he's the one that did the demon tree. Oh gosh, Keith, what was that topic that we did? It was on that devil's tree. Keith Rommel, he was one of my guests. Yes, I love you. Chuck Thurston, nice to see you. Oh no, I'm not doing any more Keddy. That guy that does the Keddy Resort. Oh my God, he hit me up with a copyright, and it wasn't even his material. The guy is nuts. I stay away from that topic. I don't need his bullying. Believe me. But Chuck, thanks. Yeah, that was an awesome show. Zoe Small, Keith Rommel again. Lely Tooby, Jimmy Cortez. Hope you're doing well, Jimmy. We love you. Donna Gorton. Jennifer Saunders, April Fagan, Joanne Dion, Summer Sims. I know Ginger Simmons was in earlier. There you are, Carl White. Always at the last when I do shout outs. There's Carl. He's from the UK. 4:23 in the morning. Thank you. Venter Storm, Joanne Gray, Aaron Brody, Chippa Terry. There's my Jimmy. Okay, anybody else? Everybody's starting to leave. Anybody else wanna shout out Tammy Morrison? Summer Sims? Anybody else? Oh, I love you, Lully. Lully Tooby, yes, I love you. Suze Randall, Crazy Monkey. There's Ginger. Royce, yay, Royce. My mod. And Crystal was in too. Where's Crystal? Let me say, Charmy Vapes, Jenny Jacobs. Anybody else want to shout? Sandra Miller. Hi, Sandra. Anybody else? Lily Villalobos. Hi, honey. Oh, that's right. It was Urban Legends, true story behind the creepy The Deviltry. That's what Keith Rommel was in. It was The Deviltry. That was an awesome show. If you guys didn't see it, it's on my main channel. It was a really good show. Let's see. Janet Wolf. Who else? Who did I miss? Did I miss anybody? Oh, maybe I'll hang out with you guys. That's a good idea. Thank you. B3 Airspace. Oh, Lully Tubi. I did say I love you. What's the sad face for? Tammy Morrison, Keith Rommel, Elaine Michael. Who else? Tammy Sifford. Yes, Tammy Sifford. Yes. Anybody else want to shout out before you all go? Yeah, that was a good show. The Deviltry was a good show. Sergeant Fluffy. Oh, Dave. There's Dave. Yeah, Dave, you should have seen the show. It was amazing. Yeah, we missed you, Dave. It was really very interesting, Dave, what he had to say. Dave Spinks, Real Supernatural, everybody. Dave has some amazing stuff coming up. Amazing. So stay tuned for Dave's stuff. He'll be posting, I'll be posting for him. It's amazing. And he's also the Society of the Supernatural, for those who may not know who Dave Spinks is. His team is David Weatherly and Sean Austin. Sean Austin is from, The Exorcist Files, and David Weatherly is the author of, he's well known for his book on black-eyed children. So, okay, who else? Anybody else want to shout out? Dave, everybody's gone home. Oh, okay, yeah, there's a delay. I know, 30-second delay. Okay, everybody. Crystal Triplet, there she is. My third mod. Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you, Charmy. Don't forget, guys, to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to Labritak. Labritak? Oh, really? Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget you can sign up for show reminders at paranormalzone.tv and the tab show reminders. Everyone, thanks so much for being here again. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. And don't forget, if you guys want help from Dr. Hogan, it's all free. He'll help you on how to communicate with the other side. I find it absolutely amazing. I had asked him if we could do a live demonstration, but that wasn't doable. Let me give you the link again. Hold on. There's the link again. If he is more than happy to help you connect with your loved ones. Yes, group hug, everyone. Group hug. All right, everyone. I'm going to say goodnight. Love you guys. Yeah. Oh, the Dead Files? Oh, is your favorite? So anyway, I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. I'm hungry. I'm going to get something to eat. I have a cat outside that shows up at my door that I have to feed. And so, love you guys, and have a safe and happy holiday. And I'll see you... Chuck, you need help in ignoring the other side? All right. See you on December 1st. Okay? Got 4 shows coming up in December. So be safe, happy holiday, and I'll see you December 1st. I love you guys. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Good night. Love you guys.